Hey guys, I'm Abby Crane.
And I'm Kara Sasla.
And we both studied abroad this past spring. We studied through CAPA, the Global Education Network, and I studied in Dublin, Ireland.
And I studied in London, England.
Yeah, so we're just going to talk to you a little bit today about our experiences, what was similar, what was different, and basically why we think every single person should study abroad.
I interned with a company called What's Up UK. My job while I was there was doing social media, promoting the show that was on air, and going through and doing all the tweets and all the Facebook posts to try and get people to watch the show. When the show went off air, I got to edit a couple things to put up onto social media, editing raw footage that they already had, and then I even got to produce a couple pieces myself. And producing meant that I had to call and organize and plan the event and then go and film it with a cameraman and have them film while I grab people to interview and get all the paperwork filled out and stuff like that. And so that was really fun, and then I got to come back and edit it all and then put that up on Facebook, which is really what I want to do once I graduate. I want to go edit film and TV shows, so that was a really great experience for me.
That's awesome. So I interned at a library. So I interned at the Ballyroan Library, and that was in South Dublin. So it was a really great placement for me, not necessarily because I'm going to be a librarian, but just because I was able to really interact with different people from Irish culture and really figure out how people just go about their day-to-day lives. And so I had a good relationship with the people I worked under. They didn't really make me feel like I was under them. It was really just more like a peer sort of feeling. And I really just got to know them. They really cared about my life. They cared about what I was doing on the weekends. They cared about like where I would go and visit, and they would ask me each week, where'd you go this week, Abby? Just because they knew how excited I was to be in Ireland, and I was able to really explore the whole country. I stayed in a homestay, and I couldn't be more happy with that decision. It was very awkward at first, just because I was immersing myself all of a sudden in Irish culture. There were 5 other siblings in the house, and so there were 3 older than me, 2 younger than me, and there was a mom and dad. And so they were all either teenagers or older, so it wasn't like they were small Irish children running around, although the accents would have been adorable.
Right.
But I think it was an amazing experience just because I was able to really see how Irish people are day to day. And my host mom would ask me a lot of questions about American culture and say, we do things this way, how does your family do it? And how does this look like in a typical American home? And I was just really able to learn a lot from her too about just typical Irish culture, and I was able to eat a lot of my meals with them. So I got breakfast every day, I got suppers most days that I wanted it, and I had a packed lunch every single day because there's a stereotype of the Irish mammy who packs the lunch and sends you off to your school or your job. So that was really awesome to be able to get to know the culture a little bit better that way. And I recommend it to people, if you're an introvert especially and you need your time away from the people you're interacting with, I would definitely say go with a homestay. I was able to have a little bit more independence from my peers. I had to work a little bit harder for having a social life, but I didn't mind doing that because then I was able to choose more of what I was doing, and I didn't feel like I had to just go along with the group of people because they were all doing something. And so I stayed in a homestay because of that. But Kara stayed in an apartment.
So I stayed in an apartment, which the Brits call a flat, so that's probably what I'll be calling it throughout this video. My flat consisted of 8 girls. We had the biggest amount of people in our flat than any of the other flats that people were put into in England, as well as I think pretty much anywhere else that you study abroad. But so we had 8 girls. There was 1 girl had a room to herself on the bottom floor. We had a living room and a kitchen area. The 3rd floor had 1 room with 3 girls in it, and then the top floor, my floor, had 2 bedrooms with 2 girls in each, and then 1 bathroom to share on each floor. So that was really interesting. I got to make friends that way, and I got to really know these girls, and I made 2 really good friends out of that, and we got to travel together. We got to go just do touristy things in London together. We had some classes together. We could help each other with homework, which was really nice. But traveling was the funnest thing to do with them, and it helped me get to know people better, but not actually people within the British culture. That was my internship. I got to make friends with the trainees that came in. I wish I had been there a little bit longer while they were there, but I got to make friends with that way and learn about the British culture with them, and kind of get both aspects of that. So that was really neat.
Yeah, I definitely agree. I think the traveling aspect really helps you get to know the other people you're studying abroad with, and then the workplace is more of like your cultural immersion for that culture you living in. And so I agree that you should travel with a group of people, travel with one person, travel with two people. Just really try to travel with as many different people as you can. Don't try to stick to one group, because then you'll just cut yourself off from the possibility of some great lifelong friendships. And honestly, don't be afraid to travel alone. I traveled on a 3-day trip with a touring company in Ireland, and I traveled by myself just because nobody else really wanted to go. And I learned so much about myself, not necessarily consciously, but kind of unconsciously, just learning more independence, learning how I interact with other people when I have zero knowledge of their backstories or anything like that. And so I highly recommend just traveling.
Yeah, traveling is a really big part of study abroad, whether you travel outside of the country that you're staying in or traveling within. I, during my spring break, went to a whole bunch of day trips throughout England, and so I got to see the different cultures within England and not just London. And I think probably my favorite place was Oxford. It was so beautiful and just so peaceful being there, so that was one of my favorite places in England. But then I also traveled to a bunch of different countries. I traveled more than most because I had saved up my money and I really wanted to travel while I was over there, and I had access and it was cheaper to have those shorter flights. And I mostly traveled with my flatmates, and sometimes I traveled by myself. There are a couple places in London that I traveled to on my own, and definitely made some mistakes and learned a lot, and it really grows your independence. But both experiences have great benefits and they're really good. And then you also learn just so much more about the culture from everywhere. The best thing to do if you go to somewhere that doesn't speak English is just attempt to speak their language. They appreciate it so much, and then you feel really good when they give you credit for something. I know one time when I was in Italy, I ordered gelato, and I was actually there with my parents. It was at the end of my trip. And my dad had known a little bit of Italian and kind of taught me a couple words here and there, and so I was trying to pick it up a little bit while I was there. And he ordered his gelato, my mom ordered her gelato, and then I ordered mine, and the guy behind the counter goes, "Oh, you're Italian." And I was like, "Oh, no, I'm American, I'm their daughter." And he was like, "Oh, you sounded really good." And I was like, "Oh, thank you." And I was really blessed that just my small efforts made them think I was Italian, and that was really cool just to experience that. So don't be afraid to travel, and don't worry about money either. Money is a really big worry for a lot of people, and just don't be afraid to get a job, start saving now, and then you can build it back up when you get back, and just kind of budget it out. Budgeting's a big thing. I'm sure you have some input on that too.
Yeah, so I think one of the main things I tell people when I talk to them about studying abroad is that they should not let money be the only issue keeping them back from studying abroad. Don't put yourself out trying to do it, but really try to trust God. And if this is something like a passion that He has given you, don't let that be the only worry, because I was honestly worried because studying abroad, you don't get the same scholarships that you will get from your university. So you have to actually put out a lot more effort into paying for the semester. And so it was kind of a worry for me, but I also knew that I had this passion and this desire. Since I was 12 years old, honestly, I've been wanting to go to Ireland, so I knew that this was something I was supposed to do. And really, I think trusting God is one of the main things, and He will provide no matter what if this is His will for you. And don't be afraid, because fear is probably one of the most crippling things that will keep you from studying abroad. But honestly, just trust God with it, and if this is His will, then just go for it.
Studying abroad also, I think, definitely deepens your faith and builds your relationship with God. It definitely did for me. I did not get to go to a single church service while I was over there. I was always on trips while I was there on Sunday, and so I had to find a way to stay connected to God without getting eating from the buffet, as Mark Sikma at MLOT says. I did not get to go to church service, and I didn't actually have any Christian friends in my flat. None of them were Christians. So I had to find a way to be in God's Word daily and just be in prayer and try and do devotionals on my own. And Matthias actually helped with their app.
Yes.
I downloaded sermons while I was on Wi-Fi, and then when I was on trips, I would pull out my phone and listen to some Matthias sermons. Yes, and I took notes, and it was really nice, and that was really helpful to me because there were times that I just felt like so deprived from God, and I just yearned for God. I wanted God. And when you're not surrounded by Christian friends and family, you're just like, that yearning becomes even stronger. So that really helps to just be in God's Word.
I totally agree. Study abroad will not only just give you more independence, but it will force you to have what faith you have and make it your own, and it will deepen it and strengthen it in ways that you can't imagine possible. So all of this being said, we totally recommend that study abroad is for every single person, no matter your personality or your financial status. So come talk to us if you have any more questions. I'm actually an ambassador for the Kappa organization, so I have a lot more information to give people if they would like to speak one-on-one. And then I'll also be at the table after chapel.
I will be too.
Yeah,
so come talk to us.
Yeah, come see us. We would love to talk to you. As much as we've rambled on today, we could go on for hours. So thanks for listening to us. Have a great rest of your Thursday.
And don't be afraid to study abroad.